Well, welcome everybody, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And here we are in the evening, and this is the first show. We switched from the morning shows on Monday, and now we are switching to the evenings. Uh, excuse me. We did evenings, mornings for a long time, but we're going to see what's going to happen at the evenings. We had issues with some people having to. Some people are still working. Of course, I've been retired for a while, so and sometimes you forget about people are still working. And so we're going to try the evening shows and see how that goes, or we might switch back and forth depending on our guests. But welcome and thanks for joining us today. It's Slim Overton, and we have a special guest with us this evening, and she is her name is Claudette White, and we're always talking. If you can see that sign back there, I see Norfolk, and I think she went to Manor, if I'm not mistaken. But that's
Yes,
okay.
I did.
That is perfectly okay. I just had to mention that. And but anyway, she's here with us, and she's vice president of the. Excuse me, all of a sudden. But anyway, she's vice president of the African American Historical Society of Portsmouth, a group that has been around for a long time. And I'll let her explain about what the group's purpose is and how long they've been around and what they have coming up and many other things that we can talk about as far as preserving. You see, the title of the show is Preserving and Displaying Our Black History in the city of Portsmouth. Excuse me, in the city of Portsmouth, but not necessarily. Uh, you know, we can spread out throughout the Hampton Roads as far as our Black history is concerned, because it's all connected. At one point we all had to come together in order to survive, really, and fight the injustices that we had in this area. But anyway, welcome, Miss White. I appreciate you agreeing to come on and talk to us and about what your group is doing here in the city of Portsmouth and how important the work that you do is for the future of the next generations to come, and how important it is for them to know their history. The old saying, if you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going. You don't know your future, and you don't. And we're living in a world that's constantly, with certain administrations, trying to cut out some of that history that we would normally learn in our schools. So it's up to us as a community and groups like yourself to make sure that history is passed down, just like they used to do way back in Africa. They used to pass down by the word of mouth the history of their families and their culture. But anyway, welcome again, and tell us, how long you been involved with the historical society, and then you can tell us their purpose and what's going on with them now.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember how long I've been there. I feel like I was there the whole time, but I wasn't. The society started back in 1996. We're actually celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, but I've been there for about 15 years, about
Yeah,
15
but
years.
that's when you really know you're doing good work, when you don't remember how long you've been doing it. Just keep that in
Just
mind next
a
time
lot
that
of
comes
work.
up.
We're doing a lot
Okay.
of work. How about that?
Yes, indeed. Okay, go ahead.
So, what we're doing right now, as you said, as I said, this is our 30th anniversary this year. We're going to be having a Black History Month program at the Edmunds Center in Portsmouth. I think most people in Portsmouth are familiar with the Edmunds Center. It's the event center within the St. Mark Missionary Baptist Church at the corner of Frederick Boulevard and Elliott Avenue. Not to be confused with Missy Elliott Boulevard, Elliott Avenue, the one that was there all the time. So
Yes, yes. Make that distinction, because they might go over there and get caught up in the casino and not
exactly
make it to
trying
the event.
to figure out how to make those two streets connect, and they don't.
How about it?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. And the event is going to be on February 7th. Our theme for the event is Straight Out of Africa. And what we want to do is tell people as much as we can about the history of Hampton Roads, not just Portsmouth, but Hampton Roads also, and what how it ties in with us coming from Portsmouth. There's not as much of a direct link to Africa from Portsmouth, but there's definitely a direct link to Hampton Roads straight out of Africa. And
Hmm.
so our speaker for the evening will be Dr. Cassandra Newby Alexander. She is the foremost authority on African American
Yes,
history
indeed.
in Hampton Roads. She's actually written a book on African American history in the city of Portsmouth, along with one of our co founders, Mae Breckenridge Haywood. And Dr. Cassandra Newby Alexander wrote this book together some time back, and it's still available for purchase. Yes, I believe you can purchase it on Amazon. And we may have some copies of the book available at the event as well.
Yes, and tell me your connection with the colored library in the city of Portsmouth. I think, well, I know at one time because I've been to some meetings when they first got started, and that's where the meeting place was at the colored library, where they
Yes,
had most of the meetings. I don't know if you still meet there, but what is
yes,
the
we do.
connection between that and the historical society? I think it's, well, you can tell us.
Well, we definitely still meet there. What happened was several years back, the building was sitting on church property, and this was just prior to me coming on board with the society. And this was at the behest of Mae Breckenridge Haywood. She found out that they were going to destroy the building.
Mm,
They were just using the building for storage, and they were going to tear it down. So she was able to secure the building, and the city gave us a plot of land to put the building on, which is where it sits now, right next to the Neighborhood Facility Center on
mhm,
Elm Avenue. And once we finished with the restoration, we actually tried to run it as a museum ourselves for a short while, but we're a small organization. We do a lot, but we're a very small organization, and trying to run a business and maintain a nonprofit organization that's doing work in the community and gathering history and gathering information about our past was quite difficult. So the building was turned over to the city of Portsmouth, and they allow us, we have what's called an MOA, which allows us to have input on what goes in that building and to also have use of the building. We don't technically own the building any longer. It's owned by the city of Portsmouth, and it's under the direction of the museum system, which is run by Dr. Benitez. Now, what that means is that we have a little bit of input on what goes in there. Dr. Benitez has been really thoughtful about what type of displays go into the museum. Right now, the displays that are in there are about shipyard workers, excuse me, in the city of Portsmouth. And
mhm.
that's a big part of our African American history. When I was in high school, at Manor High School,
At
as you
Manor
mentioned,
High.
at Manor High School, class of 77, shout out. Yes. So when I was at Manor, when we graduated, you knew one of two things. You were either going to go to college or you were going to get a job at the shipyard.
Yes, indeed.
So we
Yes.
have a rich history of working in the shipyard system, and that is the system, the display that is up through the museum system right now. It is no longer a functioning library. The building is now called the Portsmouth Colored Community Library Museum
Mhm.
because it is a museum. We have quite a few artifacts in there from when it was still a library. The interesting part is that we have very few books because inside the library museum, because we as and I'm going to say this for what was correct at the time, we as Negroes or colored
Mhm.
people didn't have that many books. If you wanted to borrow a book from the colored library, you'd go in. And if they didn't have it, someone at the colored library would have to make a call over to the regular Portsmouth Public Library and see if they had it
which
available and
for
if they
whites
would put it
only.
on loan exactly for whites only, if they would put it on loan to us.
Mm.
Now, the cute part or funny part is we have hanging from the ceiling in that building the bicycle that was used to travel from the colored
Oh,
library
that's what that
over
is. Okay.
to the white only library to pick up the book and bring it back so that it could be used by someone of color, a colored person or a Negro. So lots of history in that building alone. The history of the first librarian, the librarian that made it very popular. And there are lots of quotes from lots of local people that we have posted around the walls, and the original typewriter that was used back then. So there's a lot of history still in that building. And that's all housed on one side of the Colored Library Museum. The other side is where we have the exhibits that the museum director, Dr. Benitez, is responsible for. Some of those exhibits travel. He'll take them out of the library and they'll go from school to school to school. So it's not like if you can't get over to the Colored Library Museum, you can't see them. And he is doing a lot to make sure that youth are able to see these exhibits and that they're able to gain access to that information as well.
Yeah, I think the collaboration is like a win-win situation because I think it's only fitting that the city is a major part of the museum because it is a part of the city's history. And of course, they can maintain, the lights and all the things that need to be maintained. And then you all can concentrate on fundraisers for other activities that you have to do there and sort of kind of run the place. I'm sure that there are times when people can volunteer, even though they do have city workers that might, and it's not open all the time, but I
Well,
wish it was
we don't
available.
do much volunteering to work in the library. They prefer to have museum experts there.
Okay,
And,
okay.
but some of the artifacts there, like for example, when you walk into the door of the library, we have a very unique artifact that was recovered by Mae Breckenridge Haywood, one of our
Hmm.
founders. And recently, like within the last 5 years, maybe 7 years, we received a grant to have it restored. It's called the Colored Sink. And it
Hmm.
literally says on it, colored sink. When it was
Uh,
restored, they did not change anything about it. What they did was stop the process of it deteriorating where it was. So it won't deteriorate any further. But the actual fact that there's a piece of hardware equipment hanging on the wall that says colored only or colored sink is disturbing.
it's
That is a very
disturbing, but
real
it's
situation.
necessary for people to see
Yes, I think
that,
every
especially
young person needs
young
to come
folks.
in and see that sink and understand the significance to know that there may have been a water fountain right beside it that they would not have been able to use. They would have to have used the dingy, dirty looking colored fountain.
Right, and
The
that would be
colored
hard.
fountain.
I would imagine if I was young and coming up, that would be hard for me to believe. You
Yeah.
know, we actually had to go to a different water fountain where the same water came out. So
Mhm.
it's important for them to actually see those
Right.
artifacts like that. Yeah,
Exactly. So there are, a few pieces like that in there. There are the former Wells Fargo bank that was downtown. We have the murals. Some of those are set up inside the building, which were all depicting African American historical figures. Some of those are inside the building. In addition to all of that, there's a very distinguished painting of Frederick Douglass
mm,
inside the building. So it's great to just go in. I mean, you can probably walk through the building if you just walk through in five
yes.
minutes or less. But when you take the time to look at what is there, there's a lot of history. There's a
Yeah.
lot of history.
L-
And it's
l-
very, very interesting to just read about the librarian and the people who came there, who have statements on the wall as well. And that can tell you, Dr. Linda Hayden, she's one of the people,
Yeah,
and
she's
she's
been
a
on our
local.
show before.
Yeah, she's
She's
a local,
from
and she
Elizabeth City State University.
exactly
Yes.
former department chair for math department with ECSU.
Hmm.
And there's a statement on the wall from her talking about
Malcolm
how,
grad. Go ahead.
yes, she had
Go
to
ahead.
come there to get her book. She had to come
Yeah,
there. That was, you
in order
know,
to be, because she's like a math. Her expertise was math, right? If I'm not mistaken, or
mhm,
was it science? Either
math.
science or math.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
math. So those
she
are the
really
things
had to search
that,
for those
yeah,
books.
someone coming in for the first time would be able to identify with.
Let me ask you this question, and I want you to talk about uh, one of the main reasons for the fundraiser that you are having, a little bit about that. But where the building is located now, has it ever been, or has it been talk about maybe expanding that, or with adding on to that? I don't know if it will harm the historical significance of the building, but it just seems like you're gathering more information every day. History is being made every day, so
Mhm.
we've added to it. And is it is it any talk? It's a I don't know how much land that belongs to that particular, but it's a lot of land in that area. Has it been any talk about expansion of that building or?
No, not at all. And that probably would not be the best scenario.
Hmm.
The Kellogg Library Museum is a historical piece in and of itself.
Right. So it's
So
certain
adding on
things you
to the
can't
building,
do.
yes, I mean, not just that you can't do them for because of historical bylaws or whatever,
Hmm.
but should you?
Right.
Should we
Yep.
change that building from what it was? Had a very important significance in our past. And we also have to think about, as I said before, we restored that building and we attempted to run the building. It's a big undertaking, it's a very
Yes.
large undertaking. Privatization is expensive. For one thing, and we, as a historical society, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, don't have that type of funding that we can build from the ground up.
Okay.
That would be a lot for us to undertake, in addition to the fact that you can't just build on someone else's land. That land
Right.
belongs to the city. So, what we're
The city
aiming,
would have to dedicate that.
right, what we are actually aiming to do is to find a space or a location, most likely something existing. I sincerely doubt that we would find ourselves in a position to build from the ground up to house some of our artifacts. We have so many hundreds of artifacts that we just like to be able to display. And we have a 1920 something I.C. Norcom yearbook. We're no longer, we used to display it at some of our gatherings, but we're no longer able to do that because we have to get a grant to restore the book to its original condition. And at that point, it will only be able to be displayed under an acrylic cube, and people would no longer be able to touch it. But that's what
Touch it.
everyone
Right.
wants to do, is to touch it, and the oils from our fingers cause it to constantly deteriorate. So things like that. And none of us are curators or museum curators. So, like I said, privatization is very expensive. We would have to have a curator. It's so many steps in the process. Hiring a curator, and when I say hire, you every time I say hire, you understand there are dollar signs with
Yes.
that word.
The dollar signs. Yeah.
Hiring a curator, also having
And
all of the items that we own assessed and valued, because some of these things that we own, some of the artifacts that we own, it's difficult to put a value on a big iron ball and chain that was
mhm,
worn around the ankle of a slave. And that depends on who's valuing it.
right.
So that's a process that we're going through right now, trying to find the proper people to assess and put a number, a dollar sign on all of the artifacts before we start displaying them. We will have some items on display, approximately 10, I believe, of the larger items that we own on display at the Straight Out of Africa event at Edmond Center. So it will give you a little tiny walkthrough of where we're trying to go with our artifacts. And that's just a drop in the bucket of what we have. We have so many artifacts that we want to display.
Oh yeah, and that would be a good idea because trying to tour that place because I think the way it is now, you have to uh, focus on certain displays at certain times because you can't just show everything because of the size of the building. So it would
Well,
be ideal.
we have our artifacts on display at the Colored Library Museum. That is wholly and solely owned by the city, and they decide with our
Oh,
input what displays go in there. We do not display our artifacts there. So basically, we're paying for a storage unit to store them, and they need to be seen by the public. They need to be seen by people and
oh wow! This
appreciated by
that
people.
makes it
So,
much more important. I thought everything was housed there. What you
no,
had is just you couldn't
no.
display it, but you have so much more that
Right,
it's going to be very important to find a space, and I'm sure it's a space.
right.
Now, if you found a space, would it that be the only space, or would you sort of spread it out? Maybe, say for instance, you wanted to have some on this side of the water and some on the other side of the Churchland Bridge, or would that make sense?
Probably not for us. Like I said, again, we're a small organization, very small
Mhm.
organization. We are accepting new members. We do have positions on the board available. If anyone is interested, they can contact me. Just email me at admin, ADMIN, at blackhistoryportsmouth.org. So they can email me. I'll tell them about what positions are open. uh, blackhistoryportsmouth.org is our website. And if they go on the website, it tells them what positions are open as well. And we may have one position that's coming open soon that's not listed there, so they could contact me directly about that. But yeah, we're always looking to expand our membership. And so trying to have more than one location may not be the best idea for us because we don't want to jump out of the gate a little bigger than what we're able to
And
handle.
overextend yourself,
Yeah,
yeah.
overextend
And
ourselves. We do not want to do that.
And
But
then it
we
might
do.
be better to have it
Mhm.
all in one area if you could. So it would
Yeah,
be just one grand experience for whoever came or whatever groups came to witness it. It probably would make more sense that way. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I think so. And then, like, there are other cultural groups out here, like the Virginia Beach Cultural Community Center. I don't have a problem, or we don't have a problem trying to pair up with other organizations. It's not about who does it first or who does it best. It's about getting our history out there and making it available to the public. So
Yeah,
if
I was
we,
going to ask you that. Has there been any cooperation between any of the cities? Because, like I mentioned earlier, I remember there used to be a lot of cross interaction, especially with the black communities
Mhm.
throughout the Tidewater area, as it was called back then before Hampton Roads. I
Yeah,
remember my parents, the friends that they had and the circles they ran in, went from Newport News to Virginia Beach to Norfolk because of the things that they couldn't do, in their own city. So they had to sort of cross reference their relationships, their social organizations, and things like that. So do you have that kind of relationship, or is that something like you'll be looking for in the future? Because the history is sort of, each city has their own little niche and has some sort of history that combined would, sort of complete the history of Hampton Roads.
right.
And
Well,
of course, we
to
want
be
to focus in on Portsmouth. Portsmouth is significant
right.
in a lot of
Yeah.
what went on all the way back to the Revolutionary War. So,
Yeah.
uh,
We don't have an exact partnership with any particular organization in another city. But what we do is we support organizations that support us.
Support
And
each
we
other. Right.
try to reciprocate to any group or organization that reaches out to us. We've partnered at different times with NAACP in Portsmouth.
Hmm.
We've partnered with different churches. We've partnered with different organizations. One of the things we have going on right now, we're partnering with the group that is putting out more information and trying to get markers put up for the Green Book locations in Portsmouth. Portsmouth was one of the cities that had more Green Book locations than most. And for those who don't know about the Green Book was the book that was for African Americans traveling across the country who wanted to know places where they could stay, where they could go and eat, where they could get gas, things that were essential to being able to traveling across the country because we were not accepted everywhere. We
Right.
were not
Right.
accepted everywhere at all. So that's our most recent. I mean, when I say recent, I'm talking about our last meeting, which was 2 weeks ago with this group, and we are partnering with them to have historical markers that indicate they were a Green Book location or that a Green Book location once resided at on that land, because some of them are no longer there. There were quite a few hotels and inns that are no longer there, but I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, last week the Addicts Theater got their Green Book location on MLK Day. And our
Mm.
president was the speaker for that day. Our president is Charles Johnson Jr., and he did the speech for that. So we're trying to get more of them throughout Portsmouth and throughout Hampton Roads, and just partnering with that organization is a really big deal that people can not just see if they have a historic marker, but a Green Book historic marker. That means they were friendly to African Americans.
Yes, that was. I kind of remember that. We made a trip one time to New Mexico. We drove in a station wagon with no air, and I remember my dad having that. I didn't know what it was then, but as I grew older, he had this book, and he knew exactly where to stop, who where would be accepted, and
Yeah,
he was also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He said anywhere he went, he could find a brother that would accommodate him. But that Green Book was very important to that travel. Imagine going from Virginia. We had to ride through Texas to New Mexico, so uh, we just had to be
mhm,
careful where we didn't stop, and we had to be assured
yeah,
where we could stop. So that Green Book was a very
yeah.
important part of history.
Trying to explain the Green Book to a young person today, they can't even comprehend what that was like.
Right? It's a lot of things.
And
That's
you're not
why,
that old to remember it.
yeah, and that's why it's so important with the history, especially some of the people that uh, actually experienced it and maybe wrote it down in the form of a book, and and just getting it from them firsthand, what they actually experienced. And like you said, they probably can't fathom, even people treating another human being, even though they might see some of that happening now. But that's a whole nother story, right?
Right.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
I want to go back
I think
to,
we're talking about ice now.
yeah, yeah. I had to slide that in there. This is Portsmouth Coffee Talk, but
Uh,
I had to.
What they
I want to
don't
go back.
realize is, uh-huh. What I
No,
just
go
want to
ahead.
say
I'm sorry.
this, what they don't realize, that's okay. What they don't realize is that if we don't pay attention to what ICE is doing,
Hmm.
which is what was done to us, who's
Right.
next?
Who's next? And you can
Who's-
see who they're doing it to now, and you can imagine. You
Yeah,
know, if it wasn't for the cameras.
yeah.
Because we lived through those times.
Mhm.
That's why another reason the Green Book was so important. Because if you just got in your car and
Right.
started traveling, and your car broke down, or you were in a sunset
Mhm.
city, and people don't know, Sunset City was real too. That was where no blacks can be. When the sun went down, you could not be in the
Exactly.
street. And
Exactly.
even I know that's real, but thinking about it, because a lot of it I kind of miss. I was a little boy right at the end of the Jim Crow era, but I can remember not being able to go to certain theaters downtown Portsmouth, you know, and
Oh,
I
yeah, that's
think
right, you couldn't
when
go to the
Kennedy
Commodore,
came
that was one
along,
of them.
and
Yeah.
so I experienced that, so I know firsthand. But I wanted to go back to the Edmond Center event. Now, I think we talked earlier where
Yes.
I think the deadline as far as for the tickets for that has passed, or is it still an opportunity for people to attend that, or you already turned
I
in your count?
can Yes, we can squeeze in a few more, so if they want a ticket and they contact me before Friday, I can make that happen. The tickets are $75. The event, as I said, the theme is straight out of Africa, and we want you to come in your absolute finest African attire. So we want to celebrate Africa. We want to celebrate who we are, celebrate what we came from, and make that something that's, a great opportunity for us to just look at our people and learn more about our people, where we came from, why we came from Africa to here, all sorts of things, information you just probably wouldn't even know was true or real. And we want people to know that there's a lot to celebrate about being African American and having that heritage coming from Africa.
Yes, indeed. And just remember, it might be a few more opportunities for you to go, but just don't show up because sometimes people will show up saying, I might be able to get in. Don't just show up unless you have been guaranteed that you have a ticket
Right, we are
to get
not
in.
we cannot do tickets at the door.
Right,
If you're familiar with going to these types of events, you know we have to give a head count,
right.
but she has given me a little grace. Miss Brooks at Edmond Center, she has been incredible to work with, and she's given me a little grace. So if you contact me before Friday at admin, ADMIN, at blackhistoryportsmouth.org. I will make sure that you're still able to get a ticket, but I definitely have to know by that time.
By
That's the
Friday. So make
absolute
sure
last
that if
day.
you want to go, that you do that by Friday. But if you are not fortunate enough to be able to attend the event, you can still support the efforts of the event. Well, the purpose of the event is to raise money for what we've been talking about to locate a space in order to house the artifacts and a lot of the history, mainly of the city of Portsmouth. Am I correct? Well, totally of history of Portsmouth. I'm assuming, or is it
Okay,
sort of
your speaker, I'm not
is
sure
going
if
up?
your mic is breaking up or your speaker is breaking up.
Okay,
So
I'm
repeat
sorry.
that question for me one more.
Is it better now? I was saying mainly you can people can donate to the cause. What you all are trying to do as far as finding space. Uh, am I correct there with the same? Are you hearing me okay now? Or am I still breaking up?
Okay, I think what you asked me was about us finding a space.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So we don't have a particular location in mind. We just know that we want to be somewhere in the city of Portsmouth. I am 100% certain we will not raise enough money from one event. So there will be more events coming up, more opportunities for fundraising, looking at sponsorship. We have been very fortunate this time around. We've had sponsorship from Dominion Energy and sponsorship from Town Bank. So, and Centera. So, yeah, we are really looking for sponsorships. If organizations and companies have not yet um, sponsored us and they're still interested, even if you have a small business or a small company, the minimum sponsorship is $1,000. If you
Mhm.
want to sponsor us, by all means, contact me at admin@blackhistoryportsmouth.org. And we will be glad to include you as a sponsor both on the program and in our PowerPoint presentation. And we will have, as I said, more opportunities coming up for people to contribute to this venture of us having a space available to display artifacts and something very specific for the African American community.
So, so people get to know a little bit more about you that don't know about the organization. Talk about some of the things that you have done in the past and that you'll be doing in the future. Some of it to raise funds, but some of it that falls right in with Black History Month or Juneteenth or other special occasions.
Okay.
I,
Yeah,
I hope you still
that's
are you still
definitely a
hearing?
good idea. I looked at my phone and I'm down to 15% since we had to switch from laptop
Oh,
to
okay.
phone. I don't want to lose you. You know, we use a lot more power. Just bear with me for a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Just want to get this cord in here. I know I'm losing you on this picture for a second.
That's okay. We want to
Okay.
make sure we get all the valuable information you have to share with us this evening.
Okay. It's fine. All right. I think I'm back in the picture. I may be a
Okay.
little crooked because I have my phone cord in here. Let me try to tilt this down just a wee bit more. Okay. I'm back. We've done a lot. Let's start with your alma mater. I see uh, historic sign in front of the school.
Okay.
Maybe
Now
that
you're going in and out as far as the sound. But hold on a minute. Let me see.
okay. Hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out. The connection is sort of shaky right now. I don't know if it's just a temporary thing or okay, I think she went out, but hopefully she'll come back in. But and we'll wait for her to come back in. But think this Portsmouth, the African American Historical Society of Portsmouth has been around for a while, and they are really doing great work as preserving the history. And they're involved in a lot of things that happen in the city of Portsmouth that involve African American history and preserving it and making sure it's dis- displayed properly. And this is something that you might want to support. And if you haven't heard of them, you're, excuse me, and you're hearing about them now. And I think it's something that's important for our future, for the future generations. And you heard us talking earlier, some of the things that went on in our history, some of young people might not even believe it happened because it sounds so crazy that people would treat people like that, or there would be two separate water fountains, one for whites and one for colors, drinking the same water, or, you know, walking to the back of the bus, or having to have a green book, a guide that guides you when you traveled to make sure that you were able to find locations that accepted color folks, black people, Negroes. So all this is important, and the reason why we're having this show here. Let me make sure that she's not trying to come back on. But anyway, we did lose her to the internet for a moment, and hopefully she'll come back and we'll give her some more time to come back. But I appreciate Huddy. And you say she has an echo, but She's not here right now. So thank you for watching, Huddy. Appreciate it. And Louis Bracy, thank you for watching and your comments. And just make sure that you try to support the efforts of the African American Historical Society and the things that they're trying to do. Uh, it's so much of their artifacts and displays that they have in storage, sitting there where no one can see it. And I think it's very significant. You might find some people that were in your family that did some things in the city of Portsmouth to help the advancement of the race, our race here, right here in the city of Portsmouth. And of course, you knew the national scene was like it was, but we had to sort of uh, coordinate things here locally because each city was a little different, even though we were suffering the same injustices, but we had to sort of move a little different depending on the city you were in. So you had people that were involved in activities. You had lawyers that were fighting through the law and civil rights, and you had people, community activists that were making sure the communities were informed and making sure that they were going before the council, requesting or sometimes demanding uh, things for their neighborhoods that were being neglected or overlooked. So you had a lot of people, and all these things need to be shared, and it needs to be put in a location where people can go and see it for themselves. And it'll definitely be a teachable moment for our young kids and some of our older citizens as well to relive some of those times. Some of it might be difficult to relive, and some of it might be some good times or have some memories that will be very fond to them. So we're going to try to continue to support these African American Historical Society and try to have Miss White back when we can get her back. We might not be able to get her back tonight. Looks like she's having some difficulties returning. We were doing okay until she charged up that phone. I don't know. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think it's just the connection went bad, which that what happened. That's what happens when you are live and doing shows like this. But I think we got most of the information out. I think she's coming back here. Okay, she's sort of coming back. There she is. Claudette, can you hear me? Looks like she's there, but we can't hear you. Can you hear me?
You can, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, and I can see you as well.
Okay.
Look like you're frozen a little bit, but
Yeah, it took a
it
few
might,
tries, but I was able to get back in.
yeah, it might still be a connection problem, but we can briefly sort of finish up. And as I was talking before you came back on, I said this won't be the last time that we
Okay,
have
I just lost
you or a
you.
representative from the organization coming on and giving us updates about what's going on. And you can come on here anytime and continue to uh, request or ask people for support, the kind of support that the organization is going to need to do some of the things. We have to get those artifacts and all that rich history out of those storage places. It's
Yes, that
something
would be
that needs
great.
to be
That would
seen.
be great. Yes. You asked me before I lost the connection about other things we've done in the community.
Sure.
I mentioned the IC Northam Historical Marker. Another thing is that we have been working for years to restore the Mount Calvary Cemetery complex, runs along Deep Creek Boulevard
To Mount
and
Calvary. Yeah.
cemetery complex. As a matter of fact, on the City of Portsmouth's website, last year we went out, every year we go out and we place flags on graves of the people there for Memorial Day and and we go to two different locations. Both of them are right on or right off of Deep Creek Boulevard, just about maybe a couple of miles from each other. And
Oh, we lost her again, but she was telling us about some of the things that the Historical Society does, and that's helping preserve the grave sites of I.C. Norcom and uh, some of the other notables, Jeffrey Wilson, that are buried out there that was for years neglected. And as a matter of fact, when I was in high school, we had those high school fraternities, and we used to take probates out there to and leave them out there, but we had no idea. We called it Fisher's Hill back then. We had no idea of the historic significance of that area. We just knew it was an old grave site and it was spooky and it was a place to initiate new members coming in. And but now we know, later on we found out the true history of it and how significant it was, and with the notables that were buried out there. And this organization is one of the organizations that make sure that it is preserved, it stays clean, and people know who's buried out there. And uh, I think that's something great because it was under the city's watch for a long time. Then that's why I think it got neglected. And so these are some of the things that the Portsmouth, the African American Historical Society of Portsmouth does year round on a voluntary basis. They have a board and they have a few more slots for membership on that board. And I think maybe I'll ask the next time, can people, just uh, probably donate on a regular basis, maybe monthly or something like that, because it's just so it's just so important for us to make sure we preserve and display our history to the point where years down the road, when we're no longer here, people can look back and say, this is something that went on in Portsmouth. And this is, uh, it shows the resilience of the Black people or the colored people or the Negroes in the city of Portsmouth and how they overcame a lot of things that would have probably broken down the average person. But we weren't average. We were something special. We make it through slavery, we can make it through anything. But it's a rich history here in the city of Portsmouth, and we go all the way back to the Revolutionary War, which is why you see some of those buildings downtown in Old Town that were back those days, and you see and we were back there, and we played a significant role even back then with the people you see, uh, the actors that you see walking around displaying or acting as some of the people that were back in those days that you didn't know played a role in the victory of the Revolutionary War. The Black folks I'm talking about. Anyway, these are things that you'll be able to find out. So I think it's about time for us to wrap it up. I think I'm gonna have another opportunity to bring Miss White, Miss Claudette White, back on. She's the vice president of the organization, and either have her on and some other representatives, May Breckenridge. Will probably want to come on. She's rich with the history as well. And so if you have a chance, you have until Friday, if you want to kind of make it to the event on February 7th, the tickets are $75. And of course, if you ever been to the Edmund Center, the food is always worth it. But the food for thought that they share is even more fulfilling. So you have until Friday to try to get some tickets to get in there. But if you can't get in there, please try to support the organization and the efforts that they are their efforts to preserve the history and to find a space. I know it's plenty of places downtown. The old, some buildings down town that probably would be perfect for that. It's just a matter of having the funds to be able to go in there and set up the place. I mean, it's a lot. It's it's kind of hard to sort of build a building from the ground up. The money it would take for a small organization like this group would be an awesome task and probably would take years and years. But just trying to find a space that would accommodate everything that they have to share and show and display for the citizens of Portsmouth and throughout Hampton Roads. And it could be also a tourist attraction for anybody coming into the city to learn about the history and how we how we were a big part of the building of the city of Portsmouth and and Hampton Roads in general. So make sure you please support us. And I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to especially thank Miss White for coming on, and I apologize for some of the issues that we had as far as the internet or the Wi-Fi, but that happens. Like I said, that happens when you're live. So you just put up with that. But thanks a lot. And make sure you share and subscribe. You can still subscribe to Portsmouth Coffee Talk and like this video, please, and share it with other people. I think the information that we gave before we had the issues is going to be valuable to you and anybody that you share it with, especially the young folks, and make sure that we support the arts and the history. Make sure we know our history, we learn our history, and be a part of history. We're making history every day. Every day you wake up, you're a part of Black history. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. And remember to always be aware, be informed, and most of all, just be involved. We'll see you. Be our guest.